high can do it. From that, and man, the winds were up there. One thing about it, and I don't know, Jesse, if you've ever done that or been up high, you feel the wind down here, and it feels really, kind of, it's blowing good, maybe 20, 30 mile an hour. But climb up about 80 feet high, where there's no trees or obstructions, and it feels like the wind is blowing almost twice as hard when you're up there with nothing to block the wind of that. It's amazing the difference you get on that. When you're up above, as I call up above the tree line, because when you're about 80 feet up, you're above most all the trees of that. So there's really no obstructions when you're up on top of the tower. And man, that wind is flat trucking through there. I mean, that's why the video's abnormally shaky for me, which I'm already doing that anyway, because as you see, I'm just overly animated at stuff. But uh, I was up there, and I mean, I was hanging on and trying to hold the camera on one, hanging on to the other, because I mean, it felt like it was going to blow me off the tower a couple of times with the gusts that are coming up. So that was a fun way to start off this Wednesday morning, and I did that, and I said, be careful. There, you just knew the fire season was going to break out on this whole enchilada on that. And we started out with the first fire down in Simi Valley that torched off and is going, is still, as they say, raging on that, and it's a. Excuse me. I guess I should hit the cough button on that when I'm got a frog in my throat like that. But no, it torched off with the first fire down in Simi Valley, and then there was a second fire in Simi Valley. We've had two major fires in Harupa. One in Harupa Valley, which has which has a area that needs to be evacuated, and we'll cover that. And then there's one that just broke out, I think, a couple hours ago in the Fairmont Park area of Riverside, and that one is just started, but they had some immediate evacuations, but the last update. Man, it never seems to start. You get on the air and you get the frog in your throat. But it was absolutely 100% just a all around day. I mean, there's been trucks overturned on the 60 freeway, back and forth. They're doing that. It's just been, the winds out there have been incredible. Some of the gusts I think have been reported up to as far as 80 miles an hour on that whole enchilada. So we'll see what goes on for this day. Pull up the first story, the one on the Press Enterprise, if you got that one, because they did attend. There was a. There's obviously been the whole story out here in Moreno Valley about the landmark school and Diego Stoltz, who lost his life in the attack over there. And they announced it at the school board meeting, and this is in the Press Enterprise. Landmark Middle School's top leaders were placed 6 weeks after Diego's death. Principal Scott Walker and Assistant Principal Kamala O'Connor are out. Rafael Garcia is named principal. So scroll her up on the deal. This is by Bo Yarborough. Moreno Valley Unified has replaced both top administrators at Landmark School, where a boy died after being assaulted by two other students in September. Replacements for Principal Scott Walker and Assistant Principal Camila O'Connor were announced at the Tuesday, October 29th school board meeting. O'Connor's name was listed a day earlier in a legal filing that alleged she ignored a complaint of bullying that led to the death of the 8th grader Diego Stoltz last month. Superintendent Martin Keziadora and the school board want to provide students with the best academic and social emotional experience while they were while they were at our schools. A Moreno Valley Unified School District statement released Wednesday said, they understand that each school has unique needs, and we want to be better address those needs at each school. Which, okay, uh, have you been doing that? I went up there and asked about the dashboards because that was part of the report that was mandatory and had to be in by, or had to have a report by the end of the month, which is tomorrow, Halloween. And I've asked the question of, yeah, they point to the graduation rate, which is the only one that's on the plus side, and they've improved that. I ask about why all the other dashboards are on the orange negative side of that. There's about 5 of them. It has to do with student performance in mathematics, suspension rates, and all, and attendance rates, and all those things are other measurements that you go by. I've asked the question, okay, your graduation rate went from 60% to 90% in 5 years. Why haven't any of these others moved? It just makes sense if they're in school and in their learning. Why aren't these other needles moving? And I pointed out for the last 3 years in the red, which is the highest suspension rate has been at Landmark School. And it's been documented, and there's been a lot of parents and people put the concerns out over what's mainly, in a lot of cases, it was Landmark and Sunnymead Middle School, of having problems. And if they're getting rid of these top administrators now and replacing them, why wasn't that done earlier? Why weren't these red flags at the administration and school board level being addressed or being concerned or being responded to in a manner that may have prevented some of this stuff or that? Because, as I said, in order to fix a problem, you must first correctly identify a problem. And I think and tell me, the superintendent, Keziadora, made some remarks about, yeah, we got some in the orange and da-da-da-da. Well, explain it. You never do. You always just, C.J. Johnson, the school board member, talks about, well, yeah, you never acknowledge our graduation rate. I do all the time. But I ask about the questions about the other ones, and there is never any response to why. Again, I'm not an education expert. It's not my field. But I do know a lot about the concept, the broad picture of making an organization work. And I know I have a fair amount of experience of looking at the total picture of something and analyzing how things are going. And that's why I'm asking the question. And if we're going to have conversations and we're going to fix problems, you should be encouraged. I would think the school board, the executive staff, would be more than interested in ideas, discussions on how, what, and why to fix these things versus trying to defend their actions. Or maybe paint a picture that's not really there. But time will tell how that goes on. This whole thing will play out. There's a $100 million lawsuit that's been filed by the guardians of Diego Stoltz in regards to his death, making the allegation that Moreno Valley Unified School District was responsible for it. So we'll see how that all plays out. The pudding's in the wash. But I hope in the future more people will be more receptive to ideas, concepts of all that. And listen, I get a lot of information just, like I said, it breaks my heart when the students of the schools come up there and say these things, or, of what's going on in the schools. And it just keeps repeating time and time again. Again, that's kind of a clue something's going on. So scroll up the old IEN site and we'll roll through some of the stories that are on there, because we're covering all the news of the local area on top of that one at a time on that. So yeah, there's the first one up. There's that's in Jurupa Valley. They do have mandatory evacuations all across the board. You can look in the map in there, and it's like in the south east end of Harupa Valley down in the Belgrave, Van Buren area where that all kind of comes together down there by the railroad tracks and the 60 freeway in, in that area. The Hill Fire has been up to 200 acres. Again, mandatory evacuations in the area. There was a mobile home park that was threatened in the, there was the main concern of threatening in that area. So that's another, that one broke out of that. They had the 60 freeway closed down for a while because the smoke was going by in both directions and you couldn't see. So we'll keep monitoring that one. Scroll up to the next story and we'll see what else is on. Oh, this one is great. Uh, Winchester man and Murrieta juvenile booked on armed robbery and possession of uh, stolen property charges. The duo allegedly stole $20,000 in Oxycontin, and I can't pronounce the name of the other drug, from a Wildemar drugstore. I mean, the cops called up, or, were called out. There was an armed robbery. These two are allegedly stole 20K in drugs out of a drugstore. I mean, what the heck is this, area coming to where we're dealing with that? I mean, there's obviously the issue of we're dealing with with somebody doing an armed robbery of that. But there must be a heck of a demand for these drugs that are out there. If guys are willing to go in, basically, and I think it was 18-year-old, the one that from Winchester, the male that was in. I don't know what the age of the juvenile, but obviously he's under 18. Two very young men, let's put it, young men and teenage boy. Let's put it that way, are going in running an armed robbery on that. But the bigger picture is that who are the ones that are using these drugs and buying them, or where's the demand for that? We hear the overall addiction of OxyContin and all of the pitfalls of that, and we see that in a lot of the stuff that we see. A lot of us see each and every day of all that, and we've talked about the vagrants and the homeless and the bums and out there that are uh, you know ruining our quality of life going out there. So when we're cruising across all this stuff each and every day, uh, let's let's look at what we're doing as parents, what we're doing in the schools, because I find that a lot of us are talking around the real issue. I mean, you talk to the school, and sometimes, well, if they're not talking on the record, they're saying, well, it's the parents that are not doing this. You talk to school officials, administrators, those and that. Well, they say the parents are not participating, and uh, they dance around it at the school board meetings and executive staff. Well, we put out programs, and we encourage the parents to come, yada yada yada. So again, we need to start having honest discussions, I think, across the board of everything that's going on. And I hope more people will be, let's say, more encouraged to come out and say what's really going on. And if I remember correctly, Mr. Garcia, who just got appointed principal at Landmark School, was one at the first Landmark meeting where, after the Diego assault, and he was one of the ones that was actually telling the truth, along with the RSO officers and a couple others in the staff were actually maybe not telling us what actually was going in and where the problems were. And again, I think that's the kind of discussions I would like to see at our school board. Between our executive staff and school board members. And I think I would encourage the school board members to ask the executive staffs the pointed questions, and as our representatives, ask them to answer the questions and the issues and deal with the issues honestly up front and put it out there where everybody can see it. Then I think we can get to a solution on a lot more of these problems. Scroll up to the next story and we'll see what's going on that. This is a Oh, new brush fire. That's the one. That's the new one that started in Simi Valley. They had the earlier one that started in the morning that was by the and was even threatening the Reagan Library up there and is really raging on that. They had a second fire that fired off here in the afternoon on that. So Simi Valley is really getting hit hard by that. Oh, here's the one. Homicide investigation coming up. So this is one. Yes, the second victim. I think it was on October 18th, which is what about almost a week and a half ago. There was cops were called out and at a business on the 24,000 block of Alessandro, and apparently, a vehicle had ran over two people, hit that. One person from Mead Valley was arrested in that. One of the persons died very recently. The second one died here a couple of days ago, and the sheriff's department identified both of them as on the out there. And yes, there's two victims now, one from Moreno Valley and one from Paris, who passed away on that. So that's another one. Like I say, there were stories breaking all over the Enchilada area today, just going back and forth on that. That's another sad story of that, and we'll see how that investigation keeps going on. Let's roll up on the old NewsWire and see what's the next story that's coming up locally that we posted on here. Oh, yes. Big police turnout was on Lee Street in Moreno Valley. And for those of you that's in the south central area of Moreno Valley, Lee Street it's a little street that runs between Fur and Myers for you are more familiar. A little more general between Indian and Paris on that, so that kind of puts it in place. I went and did a video of it on that, and here's that. Hey, why don't you play the video? Let's see if the video will play. This is a video I shot about 11 o'clock today at the scene of that. Let it roll. See if there's any sound. Where's the sound? No sound. Why don't you have any sound? Do you got the mic turned up? There we go. More generally between Myers and, between Indian and Paris Boulevard on Myers at the corner of Lee Street. It looks like there's a big something going on. They got Lee Street blocked off, which runs between Myers and Fur Street. For those that have been around, and Lee Street's famous. If you see Harley Knox Boulevard, that is on the 215. Harley Knox used to live when he moved to Moreno Valley for many, many, many years on Lee Street. That's just a little trivia going on. But a big police presence on there. Something's going on. If we find out more, we'll let you know. We'll walk down. There's another little street called Ross Street that we're going to walk down and do that. The cops are in front of the house up there that we'll show you on that, so you can see a little bit of what's going on. But there again, there's the hopefully there's a shot of the command center looking across there from the house. Hopefully, as I'm walking, and I can try and do a better job at the camera work that everybody knows that I am very challenged at. But we're walking down towards Ross Street because there's some police activity out in front of Ross. The houses butt up against each other, so I don't know if they were looking for somebody or something like that. But again, big police presence. They got it blocked off. They got a command center set up out on. There's the police officers there that are driving down and in front of the house on Ross Street. So, which is about where in between, same one, so that must be close to the activity or whatever they're looking for on Lee Street, or whatever has commanded this large police presence out here in Moreno Valley in response with a command center on that. As we get further updates from any officials, Sheriff's Department, Public Information Officer, anything, we will let you know. But again, on the corner of Lee and Myers, they have the command center set up. They have Lee Street blocked off in between Fur and Myers, and in the general area, South Sunnymead, in between Indian and Paris Boulevard. You can see that's where it is. Again, any further updates, we will let you know. This is Roy Bleckert, iENEWSWIRE, over and out. There you go. There's my report. They had an update on that from the Sheriff's Department on that we will read to you as I get the story up here in a second. Like that. They were going, yes, one female was deceased at the scene on that. The Sheriff's Department, the suspect was not located when they got there. It happened about 1 a.m. this morning on Lee Street. One female was found dead from a apparent gunshot wound on the on Lee Street, and that was the reason. I don't know if they still have it blocked up, but Lee Street, like I say, just runs one block across there on the whole show. So it was that was another thing. There's, like I say, the news stories were just popping 100% on there. But there's the update on that. We did get that from the Sheriff's Department. They're pretty good. I got to give props to the public information officers out there, Robin, Mike, and Mike Vasquez, and a lot of the guys and gals that run that. They're very proficient at getting you the information that in a timely manner when it's going to be released. So we had to give big props to the PIOs, public information officers, out there at Riverside Sheriff's Department, because they do a great job. When us in the media do contact them and look for look for this information going out or whatever on the show, so or on the network, so it can be so everybody knows what's going on, because obviously when you see the forensics trucks parked out and the police got your street blocked and in your neighborhood and that, you really want to know what the heck's going on, per se, on all this stuff, so you're not panicked, or as they say, or looking, wondering what the heck's going on in my neighborhood that's rolling up on the good old stuff. So you're so you do keep informed on this stuff. So yeah, pull it back up and let's roll up the next story, because I'm sure there's some more on there from IEN on that's going on all across the board each and every day on that. And yeah, we can test if you want to test in. See if we can test in our phone system. Give us a call at 951-242-5397 if you got any reports of any of the stuff. If you got any live reports of like the Harupa fire, the one at Fairmount Park in Riverside, all across the board on that, we'll take it out. Yeah, there's the one I did on the windy report. Oh, that's the one I wanted to get to. Scroll down through. Oh yeah, scroll down through there was another one, oh yes, on Harupa Valley homicide. Another one, Giovanni Rodriguez from Harupa Valley was ID'd as the deceased body that was found Tuesday night in Harupa Valley. That's another one. I mean, it's just like I said, the news reports are coming out today like it's just, I mean, it's like it should be I don't know, the world's coming to an end Wednesdays, I guess we should have titled it, because man, there's just stuff popping all over the place. Yeah, there was a descendant, another one found dead in that in that area, that in Harupa Valley. So man, Harupa Valley's getting hit. Not only are they burning, they had they had another death out there. So far, at least Marina Valley. Well, we maybe have had a homicide investigation, but we're not burning to the ground as of yet. I should say. No major fires starting out here, but knock on wood, that could possibly do that. Oh, we did do that yesterday, but roll back down to the one where it's got the 40, the 40 residents that were picked up on the deal, because that ties in with the store. There you go. Click on the picture, see if we can blow the picture up. Yes, there's the 40 residents that were swept up in Temecula Valley and Lake Elsinore area by the sheriff's department recently on that. And I want to say that's why I say I think it ties into the story we had that we started with at the top, or towards the top of the show. There were in Winchester man and a Marietta juvenile did an armed robbery of a Wildemar drugstore and were stealing allegedly stole $20,000 worth of OxyContin and other drugs that I cannot pronounce and not going to attempt to. But are these the ones that are using this kind of stuff? Who knows? I mean, there must be some sort of demand for this, and we had the report about a week ago or so where the reporter from City Data, LA City Data, went up to San Francisco and actually rolled through and was buying drugs out on the street for that, from the homeless vagrants that were out there in our streets. So again, what is, we've got to get a handle on this kind of stuff, because it's killing our quality of life. And I mean, Wildemar right next to Murrieta, which is the safest city in California per se, or in a lot of the rankings. I think we had the one where they were fifth, the highest in the Inland Empire, and that. These are our safe areas that are getting hit like this on areas and stuff. So I mean, when it comes to Moreno Valley or the Hemet area or San Bernardino, let's just say some of our more challenged areas of what's going on. I mean, it's just, there seems to be an undercurrent, or at least to me, of this underbelly of society that we really, really, really need to start just sweeping it clean. And I know the sheriff's department, Chad Bianco, the sheriff, and all that have really stepped up the enforcement, as you can see by the latest arrests that are going on. But we don't need to. What we don't need to do is just have a big push like this and then give it up. We need to encourage them to stay on it and support them when when law enforcement and our politicians are actually working for us. When we do point out the challenges, but we want to also point out some of the good things that they're doing. They're cleaning up our streets. They're finally listening to the vast majority that says, hey, you got to go out there and take care of some of these problems. And, hopefully in the future, we will not be on here reporting all these murders and crimes and things that are going on across our area, and arrests of the 40. I mean, 40 they swept up in this stuff. And as I pointed out, it goes to show you, when our public officials want to do something or have the gumption or maybe even the support to do it, they go out and they actually can go out and do this kind of stuff, instead of a lot of times we hear, and I think this is a lot of frustration you hear in a lot of people, is sometimes we get told all the things we can't do, or there's excuses, or we can't do this, and this is the reason why we can't do that, da-da-da-da. I mean, and especially we've heard it in the homeless area, the homeless, the vagrants, the bums that are sitting in there, that, oh, well, we can't do anything with them, or the law is saying this or that. But this here, right here, what the Riverside County Sheriff's Department is doing is proving, there are tools in their toolbox that they have that they can deal with this situation. So we in my view we have to use this as a building block so we can ultimately get our communities more safe, have a higher quality of life, and not worry about a lot of things. Wouldn't it be great that you could let your kids or grandkids just go out and play or ride their bikes and not be worried sick or think you have to hover over them all the time? I mean, there was a time and a place where that did happen. And I hope at one time of that uh and I hope we can get back to that day and time out in the area because what else what else is there? I mean, if we totally keep accepting this, a lot of this stuff, that will become the norm, and you slowly, slowly, slowly sink into that. So I hope more people are not going to become as complacent, and really look at you know uh, just putting in that effort, putting in a little time, staying on that, and like I said, encourage our public officials when they're actually working for the people. Give them a thumbs up. Sometimes you know, again, they hear a lot of the complaints too of what's going on or that, but sometimes they don't hear a lot of the good things that are that happen in these situations. So I think it's very important that we actually do that on that, and maybe it's not going to be a long or I mean it's not going to be a short instant. Things are just not going to turn around in a dime. It's going to be a long process to do to straighten a lot of these problems out. But sometimes you just got to roll up your sleeves and just go out there and just keep plugging away at it. Just keep doing these steps. Like I said, sheriff's department's been doing the sweeps not only on the vagrants but on the domestic violence uh, warrants. They've been actually picking up a lot of people on that. So that's another thing that's encouraging. I think on the horizon that we have to look forward to coming back and forth. So uh, who knows? That what's on the horizon on that. I think I'm gonna, and since we're not around there, I'm gonna do. Quit looking at your phone. I'm trying to get your attention. That's it. We were supposed to call somebody. Go read the messages. Go read the 11 radio message. Oh, it takes a little bit to get back in the swing of things on all this stuff. Uh, See if we can make. We're gonna run a phone test on this stuff, but no, it's back to all the stuff on
I don't have her phone number.
uh,
Who do you think I don't call her?
the well, that's how informed we are on all this stuff. But no, it's. I really think we got one thing I want to talk about is obviously Halloween's coming up tomorrow. So be very careful. There'll be lots of trick or treaters out. After 5, from 5 to 7, 8 o'clock on on the setup. So on your way home from work, or if you're out driving late in the afternoon, be extra careful because the kids will all be out trick or treating on that. And one thing I want to talk about is one thing, and it's been mentioned they've been trying to turn Halloween around, or one of the things that they want to move Halloween to Saturday, and I am totally against that because how many times do we take traditions and stuff and we've thrown, we keep trashing them. I mean, one of the biggest things that I really, is Memorial Day used to be the last day in May, and we moved that to Saturday and Sunday, and The Indy 500 always ran. They called it the 30 days in May because you ran all. They ran the practice and qualifying and all that. But it was on the last day of the month, like Halloween. And I think it suffers a little bit when they change that to and when they change that to the last Monday in the deal. But that's just me. I mean, a lot of times I lose these traditional arguments, or they think they think you're stuck in the mud or get in the modern times or nothing. But I think it's important to hold those traditions. Halloween has always been on October 31st, and so who knows? I say Halloween stays at the end of the month, but we'll see what anybody else says. See if we're gonna see if the phone line works, and we're gonna see who usually is in here on Wednesday who's playing hooky today. Can you hear me on the phone, or is the phone not working again?